everyone, so it is time for a video I have been really looking forward to making, and that is my top 10 books of 2015. I'm going in order from least to greatest. Number 10 is The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale. This is a fairy tale retelling of the fairy tale The Goose Girl, which I've never read the tale. If you love fairy tale retellings and you're looking for something that's not, you know, a modern retelling or a futuristic retelling, you want something with a very classic fairy tale feel, like a medieval type feel, this is the book for you. It was very classic, but very, very well done, and she definitely took her own spin on it, had some great character development. It was just a really great book all around. Number 9 is Crumbs by Anne Ursu. 6 months ago when I read this, I would have never thought that this would have been on my top 10 list. So after I finished reading this book, I thought, oh, that book was good. It didn't change my life though. It was pretty good. But the more and more I thought about it as the months went on, the more I couldn't get it out of my head, and the more I just really grew to appreciate this book even more. This is a very, very loosely based retelling of the Snow Queen. I even have a hard time saying it's a retelling of the Snow Queen because it pretty much has nothing to do with that story except the Snow Queen character is in this book. It's an incredible book nonetheless about a 12-year-old girl named Hazel, which is a big imagination, and her best friend Jack goes missing and she has to go on an epic adventure to find him. It's a middle grade book full of fantasy, adventure, and it's just a lot of fun. Number 8 is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. It is a memoir by Maya Angelou from her childhood to her teen years. She went through a lot of trauma and it's in the book, but she really overcame a lot. And it was just so interesting to see how she grew up and what she had to go through to become the woman we know her as of today. And I recommend it if you haven't read it. And I love the title, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. The title alone really describes what this book is about. Number 7 is another memoir, which is Everyone Hanging Out Without Me by Mindy Kaling. I just love this book because I thought it was freaking funny. I think Mindy Kaling is hilarious, and this book was very much just like talking to a best friend. It was seriously like you felt like you were part of an inside joke. It was laugh out loud funny. I just really enjoy Mindy's personality. She seems so humble and hilarious. I just enjoyed it. Number 6 has to be Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. This book was every bit as good as everyone ever told me it would be. This book was like a warm hug. It was very comforting. It was very simple, but I loved it. And I loved being with Anne. I loved spending time with this character because she's so incredible and so different from any character I've ever read. Number 5 is Far, Far Away by Tom McNeill. This is about a boy named Jeremy who hears voices, and the voice he hears is of Jacob Grimm from the Brothers Grimm. It's not a fairy tale retelling because it's not based on any specific tale, but it's a dark, twisted, fairy tale-esque book. It's so hard to explain unless you read it. It was the most unique thing I read all year. The writing. The writing, I loved it sentence by sentence. I read this book so slowly just to take in every word. It was incredible to me. I loved it. Number 4 is Winter by Marissa Meyer. I'm so sad to see this series end. It is one of my favorite series of all time. You know, I am usually not satisfied with the endings of series, but however, I was very satisfied with this one. I think Marissa can do no wrong. I've been very happy with every book she has released. I loved the character of Winter. She was great to get to know, like so great, and I just loved it. I loved being in this world again. Number 3 is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. You've all heard me talk about this a million times. This is about a boy named Nobody whose parents are murdered and he is raised by ghosts in a graveyard. It is an amazing coming of age story. It's an amazing mystery story. It has a little bit of everything in it. That's why I love it. And this book stuck with me. I can never forget it. It was an experience. It was just wonderful. Number 2 is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I highly enjoyed Fangirl, as most of you know, and I am not even a contemporary person. I did not expect to love this as much as I did. There's so many things I loved about it. I really, really, really love what it says about being a fan and how Rainbow Rowell captured what it is to be a fan of something. I also just loved the love story. Rainbow Rowell made me fall in love as the main character fell in love. I loved this book. It was so sweet and wonderful. And my number 1 book of the year is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This book was everything I love in a book. It had amazing illustrations. It had kind of a fairy tale-ish vibe to it with the short stories. It's about a little boy whose mom is sick and a monster comes to his window and tells him 3 stories and asks him to tell him his story at the end. It was such a simple book. It was such a simple story that drove a very deep and meaningful meaning across. I just said meaningful meaning. That's kind of weird. For such a simple story, the message hit hard. I was sobbing. I could not see the words on the page because the tears in my eyes were, I loved it. I just loved it. And it's hard because I can't say a lot about it because I don't want to spoil it, but it's just very touching, very simple, very wonderful, and I think everyone would love it. I don't know, maybe not, but I think a lot of people could get something out of this. That was it, guys. I hope you enjoyed my top 10 books of 2015. I can't wait to do this again for 2016. There's so much great reading ahead. I will see you all later. Bye.